Hi. Today we will talk about remote self-directed AVR learning. This is a very practical and concrete way that university and academic institution in general, as well as companies, can implement starting now, immediately, where they can have, let's say, on average 3,000 students or workers, but it can be as much as 50,000, to develop 10 lessons each. So in this case, 30,000 augmented virtual reality lessons in 30 days, and use safely and securely the ability to transfer knowledge, having big groups gathering together without any risk at all by having this done virtually and in augmented reality. So this presentation will focus on giving a short background about this approach, but then focus very concretely how to do it, how you can start directly, immediately after this session, and start implementing this with your organization. Obviously, if you want to get more help, you're welcome to contact us. So let's go back first to the need. Why do we need to have this type of capability? And especially why now, during the pandemic? We know that most schools and organizations have shut down, and they transferred all their learning and training online. I think there's 1.6 billion students and learners at the moment that have been disrupted and have to do things online. Now, one of the big disadvantages with online is the engagement. There is statistics, and I share some of that in this image, that after 6 minutes, a typical student tunes out. So this is pretty drastic. Not only that, but there's ample evidence showing that students, by going to such classes, online classes, are bored and not interested. And even worse than that, there are simply some aspects of the face-to-face learning, such as labs or hands-on learning and training, cannot be conducted at all. So let me give you an example. Nursing, there is legislation in most countries that says that 50% has to be hands-on, and you cannot do hands-on at home because you don't have access to the lab equipment, etc. However, you can do that with virtual and augmented reality, as you'll see in the next few slides. And what we also know, and there is a mountain of research showing that students not only are able to do this, but they are able to learn better, enjoy more by being active and participatory in the learning process. And there are guidelines on learning, for example, University of New South Wales, we are citing, and also MIT. And these guidelines have been used together with our experts when developing this program. So let's be a little bit more practical. What are the elements and benefits that you can get with self-directed learning? So first of all, students learn to become experts in a topic. So to do a 15-minute lesson, which is kind of the average takes to do an augmented virtual reality, useful, immersive, exploratory lesson, but it takes perhaps 1 or 2 hours to research that topic. And students are actually becoming expert in that topic by creating the lesson. But you learn also to explore, question, react, respond, and you nurture those 21st century critical skills that you require, like critical evaluation, analysis, etc. So, to be even more practical, let's talk about specific use cases.
Thank you very much for your time, and introduce myself. So my name is Edmond Hayrize. I am the founder and the president of UBT. UBT is University for Business and Technology. Is a kind of flagship in the West Balkan. A university.
So a little bit more about this. We've started this process with university by setting up a center last year, and this center is a physical center. But we have now, with the arrival of the pandemic, when the school is shut down, transition this to the program, self-directed learning program and remote augmented virtual reality. Concretely, what we're doing is that we are now, well, the students actually are creating 20,000 augmented virtual reality lessons in 30 days. And that's by selecting 2,000 students that are participating in this program. That's now will expand to 4,000 as the next step. And it's a large-scale adoption of the self-directed learning initiative. To be a little bit more specific, let me share the next slide.
Thank you very much for your time.
So what we're doing is that we have selected bachelor programs and master programs. And within those programs that are well adapted for augmented virtual reality and self-directed learning, such as mechatronics, construction, nursing. Nursing is a big area, especially now during the pandemic. Pharmacy, dentistry, anesthesiology, radiology, but also master programs such as pharmacy, electricity, and power markets. So if I pick one of these, nursing, and I look at the current program they have, so I look at the curriculum structure. So within each program we have looked at courses, and within that we've looked at lessons. So for example, nursing subjects like principle in childcare, microbiology, parasitology, virology, and bacteriology, but also aspects of communication and psychology. So those are just a few examples. And what we are, the end result of this is a fully comprehensive turnkey curriculum that is AR and VR based. So we believe that by introducing these students, we can actually show how easy and effective it is to create the lessons, and we are duplicating this all over the world. Now, we also work on a more strategic level with governments, both national and regional governments, to basically conquer this pandemic learning challenge. Concretely, I'll give you two examples. One is Singapore, the other one is Morocco. So in Singapore, we have more than 10 years experience of working with the government. In fact, it's actually more like 14 years by now. And not only working with individual academic institution, but with a wide range based on a national program. And now we are moving this to the self-directed learning capability with a goal to do full national rollout. Another one is a more recent collaboration is Morocco, and you can see that image there. We opened this physical center before the pandemic in February, and now we have converted, because all Morocco school have shut down, so we have converted all this to online self-directed learning, and encompassing working together with the Ministry of Education and individual academic institutions to do national rollouts. And this is spreading very fast. We've got a lot of demand, I must say. During my, I thought we were busy while in January, February completing our global tour with 114 countries, where we launched a new platform. But that was nothing compared with what we're experiencing now, where we see demands from all academic institutions, all governments around the world. Just a few examples, we are converting now the centers we set up in, for example, we announced in India, Assam Electronics. This is Northeast India. So it's a full center that now is moving forward in remote and self-directed. Likewise in Spain, in Switzerland. I mentioned Morocco earlier, Japan, Malaysia, but also places like China. We have multiple locations that are very pioneering this area in a very big way. Canada, Europe and Kosovo, places like Australia. There's a lot of interest there in Australia, especially because they have a large amount of foreign students that are not able to travel, for example, from China, and many universities depend on these resources and funding. Italy is very big, and as we all know, Italy has been hard hit by the pandemic, but also US is now becoming a big challenge for education, physical education, and there's a huge demand for going remotely and self-directed learning. Okay, so now from this overall description, I'm going to move into the practical steps. So what do you do concretely if you want to start? Let's say your institution wants to start, or your company, but even you, if you as an individual like to do it, there's also ways to do that. I'm going to focus in this presentation predominantly on institutions and larger organizations. So the first step is to identify the lecturers and the type of programs, topics, like I just gave you example with in Kosovo with the university there. And what we're doing is we are taking these lecturers and taking them to what we call level 1 training, which is a 4-hour training program where they become experts. It's all online. And they learn about the platform, the existing lessons, and all aspects they need to do so. The step 2 is that together with the lecturers, we identify the students. So typically, we would like to start the program for around, or at least I would say 3,000 students, although we can make smaller rollouts. But that's kind of a nice size to start. And then in step 3, we are hosting a series of workshops and providing multiple type of resources, videos, so students can learn how to create content on the AVR platform. So for example, we have resources online for instructions on for the mobile devices like your iPhone, etc. We have likewise resources to learn about this on your desktop environment, how to create from the beginning, from all the way. And we also have quick guides, and these guides are very useful. We have quick guides for your mobile devices. So here's an example of that. How to use this. And likewise for the desktop. So the whole idea is to enable this self-directed learning. And of course we have all the, which is very useful, the remote capabilities. So not only you're not working necessarily alone, you can work in groups. You can do that using a tablet in a mobile mode. That's when you see things on the screen. You can also join a session where you are engaging on augmented reality. So now you see that the person we see on the other side is not necessarily physical there. You can actually share things in different locations. And you can also do a lot of what is called today digital twin regarding product training. So you can superimpose information either on a physical maquette or just have a digital version of that product, and you can interact, you can conduct standard operation procedures. So basically multi-user, remote procedure practice, hands-on training, expert assistance, allowing large groups to gather, interact, and learn without any risk for physical exposure. So now when this step is completed, then teachers, together with our support, we provide all supporting materials, can outline the learning outcomes and assign each student to create 10 lessons. Typically we give them around 30 days. I mentioned a lesson takes about 15 minutes to create typically, but it can take an hour or two to research to that topic. The guidelines are general. We have general guidelines, and then we have specific guidelines. And for example, if students need to learn about the circulatory system, the instruction could be, the goal is to construct a lesson that demonstrates how blood gets around the body. So it's a very open-ended topic, but we also monitoring these criteria that they are appropriate for self-directed learning. So that we have done with our experts, such as our Chief Learning Officer, Dr. Peter Lucker, that has more than 30 years experience. So I'm doing this for universities like NTU, Nanyang Technology University, that is ranked at the moment #1 in Asia, and I think is top 11 in the world. So for example, the qualitative guidelines have to do with how you think in terms of analysis, synthesis, and logic, while the quantitative guidelines are more about what components the augmented virtual reality lesson has to contain in terms of how many activities, how many quizzes, what type of step-by-step procedures have to be recorded, etc. And once that is all done, then the student can publish and share this outcome. And who has access to this is totally within the control of the academic or the organization. If it's a company, they can define that, for example, only a classroom has access to this, or an institution, or even that they are willing to publish this in a public way. And the evaluation of the lesson is conducted in different ways. There's a system, there's an automatic assessment. There is also a peer review, which we think is very important for students to have the self and peer review evaluation. So if you are guided to, let's say, do 10 lessons, you also have a task to peer review 10 lessons. And this is very useful part because students have to explain what they were doing. The peer review can be done in a collaborative way. And also takes a lot of the burden of the teachers themselves to do all this review because many teachers are swamped. So this is quite a side effect of all this is coming with steps 9, because the outcome of the 30 days is that you end up with 30,000 lessons. And we all know how stressed many teachers and trainers are at the moment when they have so many other things to cope with, like just switching online is a big effort. So the ability to have a vast amount of courses, out of which perhaps top 15% are really, really good quality, and then can be used for the continuous learning in augmented and virtual reality is very useful. So how can augmented virtual reality play a unique role in the self-directed learning aspect? So the fact that you can do it anywhere, anytime, that's useful. The fact that you can do hands-on things that you couldn't do otherwise. I was talking about how do you teach, for example, hands-on a defibrillator for a nurse or an anesthesia machine. How do you learn standard operation procedure for diesel engine for workers? You can do that very easily with virtual and augmented reality, but it's almost impossible to do this by watching a movie or by seeing just an animation that you can't interact with, or just reading a book about it. The ability to have multi-users is very useful. We talked about peer learning, peer evaluation, but also the ability to create quite complex multimedia where you inject in VR and AR other media form like voice recorders, video, text, etc. And of course the assessment aspect, having assessment that is not just paper-based, but it's authentic assessment where you can measure skills in a way that you can almost not do it even face-to-face. Every move they make, every step they take, the system is watching them. We can see that, okay, on this procedure to repair the engine, you have only 86%, and we know which steps you actually were not mastering. We can redirect you to which aspect you need to enforce in learning in order to be certified for that process. So with that, there's tons of materials that we can share with you how to get started. What I recommend, if I were you, first go to our website. The first thing you can do is just go there and let me just see, you go to EON Reality, and there is start for free, so you can actually download the platform on your mobile device if you want that. You can also watch this quick video that describes the platform, and by doing so you get access to a few free lessons, but you also have the ability to go to the first time user experience and create your own lesson at no cost. Up to 5 lessons is part of our freemium package. Now if you're interested to, let's say, do this in a institution, at the institution level, it's also, all you have to do is reach out to us, and we will be more than happy to guide you through the process of how to do a full implementation involving thousands of students or co-workers. And with that, we thank you. Our philosophy as a company for the last 21 years has been that knowledge is a human right, and that we want to make it available, affordable, and accessible for everybody on the planet. And we look forward to engage with you in that context. Be safe, take care of your family and colleagues, and together, by focusing on constructive things, we will prevail. Although I must say that I don't think the world will be the same ever, and I think technologies like the ones I described for augmented virtual reality are here to stay for a long time. Thank you, and goodbye.